So currency is one of the most important aspects of Path of Exile 2. With currency, you can craft items, juice out your maps to make them really good, directly trade from players to gain access to powerful gear, and generally if you have more currency, you just have way more accessibility to doing things in Path of Exile 2. A lot of players in the last couple of days have asked me further, what are some of the best ways to get currency? So I decided that I wanted to go out of my way to kind of see what other options there were to earn currency. The one that kind of stuck out to me specifically was Ritual, seeing that Ritual is a fairly cool mechanic, one of my favorites in Path of Exile 1, and one that I felt was a very easy one to get into with low gear. You don't necessarily need rarity, you don't even need the best of builds, you just need to be able to walk to the altars and kill the enemies. So that's what I did. Now honestly, as a player who is a very seasoned Path of Exile player, having about 13,000 hours in PoE 1, this was actually not that crazy of a feat. I actually was able to complete this in one sitting, and I felt like it would be a good idea to share with you my results of what I got from the rituals. I do want to set a few parameters and ground rules on what I specifically decided I wanted to do with this. First, I wanted to only pick up things that were directly from the ritual itself, nothing that dropped from the map boss or anything like that. I made sure specifically to always finish every ritual that I needed, and I always finished the map because, well, I needed the precursors and sustain and things like that. So all the things that we're counting in this is only from currency or items that I gotten from the ritual altar itself. Now, this does not include items that may be worth valuable stuff. To be quite frank with you, there wasn't really any items that was worth a damn anyway, but generally we picked up currency, omens, and things that had value. With that, we just went to 50 different ritual maps and just slammed them out. I do want to make sure players understand what exactly kind of items that they should be looking for to get, so that you have a better idea of what are the better items. First off, general bubblegum currency. It can differ depending on what item you get. Some can be exalted, others can be just random transmutation, alchemy, whatever the case is, random bubblegum currency. This currency tends to be pretty bad overall in the grand scheme of things compared to other things like breach, but it is counted. The second best items that you should get is going to be omens. So we generally picked up omens. To be quite frank, when I did this test, I didn't know exactly what omens were the best. I just grabbed whatever it was, and it actually ended up resulting in some okay currency. And then finally, the biggest chase item, or the item that's worth the most in Ritual, is an audience with the king. This is an item that whenever you put into your map, it'll give you the opportunity to jump in and face off against the Mist King. The Mist King is a different form of in-game. This is a pentacle boss that give you the opportunity to give yourself points for your Ritual Atlas. Based on what I can tell, looking at the different player bases and the players I've interacted with, almost none of them had anything in relation to the Atlas completed when it comes to Ritual. So this is kind of where I'm starting personally as well. I didn't have anything with the Ritual, so it doesn't seem like many players did. As of recording this video right now, an audience with the king goes for 766 exalted orbs. That's a little under 7 divines if I'm not mistaken. And so this is actually a pretty valuable item that is very sought out, and it gives you quite a bit, so pretty valuable. So with that very simple intro out of the way, let's dive into all the different kind of currencies that we got for doing 50 rituals. So first things first, as you can probably tell, we don't have a lot of currency. That's because I actually ended up getting an audience with the king. And one thing that's super important about me getting the audience with the king is this skewed my data in a way that was very different different than I think most players will get, because I got this, I would say, within my first 10 rituals. Now, I don't know how abnormal that is, but essentially what this means for me as someone who's trying to get the audience with the king is, rather than picking up random bubblegum currency that I would have otherwise picked up, a lot of my investment from the ritual kills were to get as much ritual juice as possible. If the audience with the king wasn't in the first set, which it almost never was, I re-rolled and I had to see if it was in the back there, which sometimes it was. And then I used all my currency pretty much in order to actively get the audience with the king. Now, if I had something like this where I can re-roll more, or had reduced attributes, or even things like different kind of things here that it offers, this would be significantly easier than what I had to do to get this. But essentially, because I got audience with the king very early, I ended up spending probably about 15 to maybe 20 of them of the initial rituals that I did trying to get this thing, and it was really hard, especially when I was getting a lot of 3 rituals and I wasn't getting a lot of things. Like 2 times I couldn't even defer it. It was like really bad. So it was really hard to get good data because, again, this skewed it pretty heavily. With that said, when I finally got Audience with the King, I still think it was worth it, all things considered, because I'm up like 700 700 Exalted, so it's really good. But yeah, I will say, if you don't get an Audience with the King, your currency will probably be a lot better than what you see here, because you're probably going to be picking up more Exalted Orbs, you're going to be picking up more Omens, and things of the sort. So we got about 32 Exalted Orbs, 1 Regal, 4 Transmutation, Vault Orbs, 8 of them, 3 Chaos Orbs, 1 Alchemy Orb, 6 Augment. I didn't know the value of any of these, and the only one that seemed to be of value was this one, Omen of Corruption. And then I guess we can go over here and look at the price. Last time I checked, the Omen of Corruption was 85. So I guess we can take that out. And if someone buys it, there you go. Thank you, person who bought it. We can add this to the total here. And obviously that brings it up a bit. This is probably about a divine here. Maybe a little over a divine. And then these random things, they weren't worth much. I think they were like less than 3 each. I thought they were worth more, but they weren't. So if I didn't get an Audience with the King, I would probably have about a divine worth of currency, not including things I would have otherwise gotten. And then obviously with an Audience with the King, currency exchange, Audience with the King, where are you? We have 773. Now I'm not gonna pay for it, I'm sorry, because I actually want to run it, because I think and I'm gonna say this in the intro and kind of give you my summary. I think that this is one of those mechanics that you definitely want to invest in. The more you put in, the more you get out, kind of things. That's where something like Breach is probably going to be more of the moment you step in, you start earning currency. So I'm going to keep that Audience with the King, because I'm going to go kill him like probably after this video and just start snowballing. But this is a good example of how much currency I earned. So I earned about almost 850 Exalted and 50 rituals or something, give or take. So take that as you will. Maybe my data is not the greatest since I got Audience with the King really early. Some people say they got it early. Some people said it took them forever to get it. Some people said they did 50 and they didn't get one at all. I don't know. This is my data. Do with it what you will. With that said, in summary, do you want to know if doing 50 ritual or doing ritual, investing in it is worth it? Let me tell you my thoughts. So first off, I will say, as I said a moment ago, I do think it's worth it for a combination of reasons. First off, if you have no magic find gear, because this doesn't require any types of magic find to be able to to get currency, your build isn't necessarily very good, because things like Breach needs pretty good clear. You need to be able to clear pretty fast, and not every build can do that. If that's something that's holding you back, really good clear, and maybe don't have a lot of magic find, then this could be a really good alternative, because once you actually get an Audience with the King, which doesn't seem to be dependent on your magic find or anything like that, you actually start to snowball it. Because I do believe once I start getting things that give you extra stuff from like looking at other creators and looking at how people like gain currency after they get their initial investment, you will start to earn quite a bit more, and it actually becomes something where you can reliably earn currency without having those conditions we talked about. The downside to this is, if you get unlucky and you don't get an Audience with the King, you actually spend a lot of time trying to look for one, and overall, when it comes to the currency that was found, it was very low. When it comes to accessibility, Breach as a whole was much easier to get like precursors for. I didn't say this specifically when I was showing the gear, or I mean showing the resources, but I actually had to go buy a precursor tablet for about 35 Exalted to be able to sustain it. That means essentially there was some type of investment even to sustain it, compared to something like a Breach. Breach seems to be very accessible in their precursors, and Breach seems to reward you generally a lot more. So that's something you have to weigh in when you were talking about if it's worth it. Personally, I'm going to continue to explore this and do a little bit more, because I do think once I actually get him killed a few times, the Mist King, I will start getting a lot more like reliable currency, and Ritual isn't actually that hard to do. I think it's less rippy than Breach. And it does seem, at least from my personal testing, it is a reasonable investment. With that said, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know down in the comments what you think about, you know, what happened in this video. If you want to see more tests after this, because again, the first 50 isn't necessarily the greatest, I think, because I think I just got lucky. But let me know if you want to see more once I have an audience with the king and I can go do 50 more rituals. That's literally just me playing for one day. It's not even a big deal. I can do more. But yeah, let me know. Leave me a like, subscribe if you like this type of content. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one very soon.